Hi, I'm Richie Mackay.
And I'm David Bolt, and you are listening to the Wrong Bias Podcast. And on today's show, we have former world champion Mark Dawes from Lancashire. We also have on the show Ian McCombs from Just Bowl. We also have our competition sponsored by Alex Marshall Sports. And Mark Dawes will also take on the fantastic Balls or Balls challenge.
You just looked at Balls or Balls, didn't you? From getting ditched after week 2, it's no big hit.
We might give it a couple more weeks and I'll think of something else. I might put it as a poll.
A poll? Do you want 7 up questions?
Would you prefer 7 up questions on Balls or Balls?
We'll change it to bollocks and horse.
That makes me better, aye.
Right, mate, here we are again. Show number 19. Bronze is our wedding anniversary, mate.
Bronze. My favourite colour.
We've got a couple sitting on the mantelpiece somewhere.
We have. If I was getting married, I'll definitely be the bridesmaid. Definitely not the bride.
There would be a bronze statue of David Bolt in Silks with Balls Club.
It'll be vandalised within 2 days.
Anyway, it was a case of sod's law. Our last recording, we got on about Sun and Council not opening up the greens. And they decided to open up the greens after our recording, mate. So
they did, literally within a couple of days, wasn't it?
They did, mate. So let's tempt fate. If we can have that bit influence. Here's the national lottery numbers, folks, for next week. 6, 10, 15, 24, 31 and 42.
You do know we're gonna get a load of abusive emails now for wasting people's £2, don't you?
We probably have, but how many people will actually put them on now? I'm going to have to put it on now.
It certainly hasn't come with its difficulties though, has it? Since they've opened the greens, I know yours in particular. You've got a few issues with your green, and obviously we cannot access the clubhouses at the minute, so it's all still up in the air. It's
frustrating because you would expect your greens to be in decent condition, and ours just looks like a dog's dinner. It happens every year. They're good at it. I must admit they are good at it. We get a hot week and it gets burnt, mate. They have worked on it and it does look a lot better, but it'll not open this season. Hopefully we'll get it back for next year.
Definitely. I was actually quite surprised at ours the other day. I was got a bit of a burning, but I went down the other day and it's not looking too bad. How's Haregate going?
Haregate's counting down the days, mate. Counting down the days. I've been told I've got to wash it before I go to get the strimmer out.
Well, I must admit, when I saw you on Zoom, I wasn't sure whether it was Richie Mackay or Bob Geldof.
I told you earlier on, the headwind this morning, I was the wind. It was like Alan Ginzine. It was. It was blown in the wind, mate. I was lathers. It's murder. It's murder, mate.
You'll definitely have everything crossed that there's not going to be a local lockdown again, otherwise we'll not be able to see you.
Oh, I've been no good at all, mate. Been no good at all. I'm putting Dave Peterson to shame now. I've got more hair than Dave. I bet you Dave's had a trim.
I can guarantee Karen will be laughing our heads off of that now.
Anyway, on a sad note, Nancy Collin, 101 MBE, sadly passed away.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. It's always sad. She was obviously a massive part of bowls within England.
The EWBA president, and she was secretary for 22 years. So she did her time. She's one of the few people who put something back to the sport, mate.
Yeah, it's always sad, and like I say, especially. We see it regularly in our sport, but somebody who was very influential in what she did, and like you say, she obviously put a lot back in, so it's sad news.
We hear people who say that the sport needs to change. Well, I'm sure Nancy would have had a list as long as her arm on the changes that she's seen through the days. I mean, she won her first singles 1959 or something like that. The changes, the white gloves, the starched hats, the 6 inches at the front, the plates, and it's big changes, mate, big changes. Time to catch up with former world indoor champion Mark Dawes. Take 1. The clues in the title.
And it's great to introduce... I'll start that again. That was there's a blooper.
Mark, this is what I've got to work with, you know. Amateur.
Just make up.
What was having his pussy on his knee? What's going on?
You don't need to know, Mark. Trust us.
I don't know.
And now it is time to catch up with Mark Dawes.
Right. And it's great to have Mark Dawes on the podcast. Mark, I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
No problem, David.
We're going to go straight into this, Mark, because I think it's a bit of a hot topic at the minute. And there's quite a lot of talk about it via social media, and it was a shock to a lot of people. Where obviously you are part of Blackpool Newton Hall Indoor Bowling Club, which recently we've just seen basically going to close the doors, leaving Lancashire bowls indoors in a bit of a predicament. Do you want to just give us a little bit of an update on that, Mark, as to how it's all come about and, you know, what a massive effect it's going to have on you guys?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was as much of a shocker to me as it was for anybody else, to be honest with you. I fortunately obviously know that Nigel Jonathan very well, been there playing for a number of years, played with him as well. So he gave me a little bit of heads up on the Monday, I think it was, that what was going to come out. And then by Tuesday, all the club members had a letter basically saying due to the virus and due to the potential of the membership dropping down and the financial impacts that might have, that they wouldn't be reopening come September or October, whenever that may well have been. So, yeah, I mean, it was a massive shock to the system. There's possibly been rumblings before because of how it works, as opposed to normal, for the people who don't know. For the normal bowls club, just standalone bowls club, it isn't like that. It's on a caravan site. So the owners of the caravan site probably historically have had an interest in bowls. Maybe their grandfather, who actually created the club, was the main driving force in the bowls club. From then, it's kind of been obviously passed down. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. So probably the interest in bowls has waned a little bit. And unfortunately, the current kind of climate has meant that it's almost given them reason to look elsewhere and look for other things that can perhaps make more money. And from a business point of view, I don't necessarily blame them for that. I would probably have rather had a little bit more notice than what we got as a club member, really. But can understand it. The bigger problem, I mean, that in itself would be an issue, but there is like no clubs now in the county. And I live just north of Manchester. My nearest club actually is Leeds, which is probably 50 miles away from me. And if you live in Blackpool, the nearest club's probably 70 to 80 miles away. So for your average club member, we probably had 300, 400, 500 members. Those people just simply can't get the facilities and their livelihood has been taken away. So it's those people I feel really sorry for. The competitive bowlers, it's going to be really difficult for us moving on. But the club bowlers, the people who it is their life, and I feel really sorry for them because they had little notice and they've got little option for what to do in the winter, really. Yeah,
and I suppose devil's advocate, it's not like a council's closed you down or a sports centre have closed you down. I suppose in that position, it's not great. It's certainly not great. It's a massive loss to so many people. But then businesses have got to make money, and if there's been an issue there where that business isn't making money, or potentially they're not making enough to sustain, then would the 400 or 500 bowlers pull them out of it if they would potentially go under? That's the me sitting on the wall bit. But from the sports point of view, it is a huge blow for Lancashire bowls. Don't know whether this situation is going to give Lancashire bowls a kick up the backside to say, well, do we look for somewhere else? Are we going to try and create a new venue somewhere? Whatever that may be, but it's seen a massive decline, hasn't it, over the last 10 years, both indoors and outdoors?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think someone put on social media, I think it was only 20 years ago they won the Liberty Trophy, the indoor county championship, or 6-7 years since we even entered the competition. So it has been on a steady decline, and you can see, I mean, like I say, from the business point of view, a bowls club isn't going to make a load of money. Generally, there's probably a few exceptions, but, in the main, certainly in this country, isn't going to make a lot of money. So I can understand that. It's just probably the situation it's left us in with nothing. It's probably certainly given the outdoor side, kick at the backside of need to think, hang on a minute, this could happen to us as well, kind of thing. So, yeah, there's maybe that. That's maybe a positive to take out of it, that it's given them kind of pre-warning. But it's interesting, really, because you've got so many people play Crown Green in the area that I'm just amazed that there's not more people that do want to play in the winter, even if it's just to pass the time and not necessarily to take take it seriously. But it's not the serious members that you need. It's the people who are willing to come in 2 and 3 times a week, pay their rinkage and are quite happy to do that, year in, year out kind of thing. So yeah, it's not a good situation. I'm not really certain where we go next, to be honest.
Do the caravan park not get sort of any kickbacks from members, from families staying there for coming up to see them and maybe use the holiday park as somewhere to stay, or is there not a joint sort of venture there where they benefit from the bowlers being at that site?
A little bit. A couple of the bowlers actually bought caravans on the site. The caravan site is generally a lot of owners that go on there rather than necessarily that many are rented out for just holidays. But no, there's probably a few that did actually get caravans on site when they were up there, but it's not probably as much enough to make it a massive impact on their decision, really.
So on the flip side of that, Mark, is none of the owners of the caravan, do they tend to come in and use the bowls facility at any time?
A few maybe have shown interest, but no, not many. I mean, typically it's younger families who've not been, they might pop their head in through the door, but maybe don't get on the green, and that's possibly a thing that we could have done better as a club. I mean, I'm possibly guilty of that from being somebody who's in the club as well, but I'm not sure, the other activities, obviously a seaside town, people coming in. It is closed part of the time through the winter as well, the caravan site, for 2 or 3 months. So I would say our busier periods when it might entice people in, the caravan site's actually closed. So, you're looking at people off-site then anyway.
Yeah.
I just think it's probably steady decline. That's been just, unfortunately, this current climate with the virus has really kind of pushed that, 2-3 years, further on than it might have been. It might have got a couple of years, and maybe they might have said, well, you need to improve your membership. Look at membership drives and things like that to get people in. But ultimately, I think that the business decision was that that's the way they wanted to go and use it for something else, and which potentially would benefit both the caravan site and potentially make them more money from outside people coming in.
Did the club actually have leagues on, Mark, or was it well used? Or
yeah, probably not as I probably noticed a decline. I've been going up there 15 years now. It is. I've probably noticed a little bit. It's typical in a lot of clubs. It's the same old people, and perhaps because it was owned by somebody else, there probably wasn't a committee of people that perhaps could have pushed it on a little bit more, because that wasn't the setup of the club. But yeah, there were clubs involved, and obviously before the virus, we were finishing leagues off and things like that, and getting to that point, and everyone was working towards next season really. National entries have been put in and things like that. No real kind of notion of anything happening until we got the letter on, a couple.
I was just going to say, is there anywhere else at all where you think could potentially house 4 rinks or 3 rinks? Or
there's a couple of places where I started playing, which is just north of Manchester, called Swinton. They've not affiliated for a few years, and that's still in existence. It must be better now that the smoking ban's come in, because there used to be a nice film of smoke that used to come over it. I'm not putting it since, but it's got to be better than it was. There's one at Oldham as well, which actually is quite well. That's in a leisure centre. I'm not 100% certain of the setup, but I think it's 4 rinks, and it's quite popular. Apparently, people can just go and pay and play. And in fairness, Crown Greeners generally are pretty tight. I'm a Crown Greener myself, so I know. They don't like parting with their money. So the fact that they don't have to pay a membership and they can just go and pay to play, they quite like that idea. So they've got quite a few members, but it's not members as such. It's just people, anybody. There's probably 300-400 people that go and play. The kind of interest is there. I spoke to the IBA last week to try and see what could come of that. I've not heard anything back. I did hear a couple of rumours that it wasn't great news from what other people had heard, so I need to speak to them this week. And also from a long-term point of view, a couple of my friends from the club have got on to the local MPs. In fact, I heard some relatively positive news from the local Blackpool MP yesterday that one of them had got in touch with to say to him, and apparently he was involved on the other Blackpool club, the Blackpool Borough, when that shot. He was involved, but the reason that they didn't get anything on the back of that was because Newton Hall was an alternative at the time. So they've kind of said that obviously that's not there anymore. So he seems keen to get involved, which might be a long-term plan. But short-term, given the only thing I could think of was one of these 2 smaller clubs affiliating in some way, or us moving the club to sit with them for short-term, which, I've kind of taken it upon myself to try and there's a couple of us who are trying to get involved from the more kind of involved in nationals and stuff that it actually affects, to try and see what we can do on a temporary basis. But yeah, hopefully over the next couple of weeks we can get at least something sorted for us.
Well, I think from your point of view, we're going to talk about it a little bit later as well, Mark, but you know, you've got a world champion in your county, and you know, if councils or whatever it may be, can that help somebody who's been a world champion in the sport who potentially hasn't got somewhere to go to? I know potentially knowing you for a lot of years, Mark, you not want to put yourself out there in that way, but I think, you know, this has got to be used in some sort of advantage to the sport within Lancashire to say, well, hang on a second, you know, I was world champion a couple of years ago, and now I haven't even got a bowls club to go to unless I drive 2 hours to go and find somewhere. And you've brought a lot of success and pride to the area. Then, you know, let's have a little bit of give and take and try and help us out here, hopefully.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, that's kind of been my mindset. Typically, I haven't been that involved in the club because even for where I live now, I'm 45 miles away from the Blackpool club. So, you know, it's not around the corner even now. And yeah, you're right. I'm probably more of a laid-back character than most, so wouldn't push myself forward in that way, and still find it difficult to call myself former world champion, if I'm being honest. But, you know, I do know that in some ways that could be a good thing. So whether, you know, and that's maybe why I've wanted to get involved, and hopefully a few of us will get involved. And even if it's just, you know, dropping my name in there that people can do, then you're right, it might help. It might not, but if it does, then, you know, that's only a good thing.
At the end of the day, we're in a really, really bad place if a world champion of our sport can't, you know, even if it's a case of it makes somebody sit up and listen. If they weren't to do that, then I'd be really, really worried about the whole situation. And hopefully, like I say, as you said, Matt, I've known you for so many years, and I know you're not that way inclined, but sometimes you've got to sort of put that to one side and ram it down the throat in a lot of respects, because it's not make-believe, it's not a fairy tale. You were the world champion, you are from Lancashire, and you haven't got a venue to go and play bowls. It's not right. It's not right at all. Just quickly back to that Blackpool Borough. I mean, Richie, you'll remember going back there years ago. Remember David Holt being the manager there. What happened? I can't remember now. It's quite a few years ago, but why did that go? Because that was a fantastic club.
Yeah, again, I think it was a bit not quite a sudden decision, but I think the council council facility wanted to use it for something else. I think it's ended up turning into a car park from it's, you know, obviously not being local. I don't necessarily know whether it was a financial thing. Probably two clubs in such a close area, probably split the membership between the two, and again, just probably not quite enough interest, you know, to maintain it. And the council, as they do, you know, have other ideas for what would be useful for a seaside town, and car parks to get more people into town was probably at the time seen as a better option.
Absolutely, and being so close to the promenade and the seafront, I've got no doubt probably £4, £5 for 2 hours park, and there was going to bring a damn sight more money in than somebody spending 2 hours in a ball screen, and that's the sad facts about the situation. The whole benefits that it brings to people's lives go out the window when it comes to finances, unfortunately. And in a lot of respects, it seems like obviously you've hit the same barrier on this side as well, and it's somebody who basically wanting to push the business on a little bit further and do something different, which is such a shame. But I don't know if you want to add anything. All I'm going to say, Mark, is obviously I really hope there's a positive outcome on this, and you do find somewhere, and we see you out in the indoor greens in the very near future, that's for certain.
Yeah, I just, like I say, I hope there's at least a short-term fix for the people who want to play competitively for the next 12, 18 months. And in the meantime, hopefully, some of the avenues that we're obviously starting to look at, as I think in the next few weeks, it probably would make sense for us to get a kind of working group together to have a look at the long-term kind of possibilities, and hope that we can get the right people involved. Just try and get 2 or 3 people together. If you can get a core of bowlers who are interested with a bit of local, backing, and also the association, the right people trying to get involved and seeing what can come of it. It might be that it's nothing, but at least we're going to give it a try, and just, but that's kind of probably more of a long-term plan. So it's kind of a twofold attack, really. Try and get something for the people who want to carry on playing if it feels it's feasible, but then look at maybe getting some kind of facility. There's got to be enough people that can play to make a facility worthwhile somewhere.
Yeah. Rich, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sad state of affairs. It just reminds us of what we had at Sunderland, Davey, really, doesn't it?
I was just going to say, it's very reminiscent about the two clubs.
Yeah, I mean,
splitting an area.
We were based in the leisure centre up on the first floor, came in February, and they said that they were closing it down. and that was it. We 350 members out on the cobbles, not a thing to do. So I feel your pain. I mean, 6 years ago, that is unbelievably 6 years, and I'm still secretary of the club, believe it or not. And we have had talks with the council a few months ago, Davey.
Yeah.
With trying to get a leisure facility built, but I think the current climate has probably knocked that on the head as well. So it's just a sad state of affairs. I've said it all along. Bowls is an easy target, and it's always been a cheap game. I don't know what the fees were like down there, Mark, but I've always said up in the northeast, bowls is too cheap, even at indoor level, even at a council centre. The fees were too cheap.
I was just about to say, obviously, the 10 million that you won for the World Championship, plus all your sponsors and your add-ons and the adverts, you'll be able to build somewhere, Mark, won't you? I mean, you're that type of guy.
Yeah. I've not thought about that, actually.
Oh, yeah, I'll get your hand in your pocket.
I'm going to be honest, if you look around up at my 2 up, 2 down house, rented house that I'm living in, I perhaps need to work on that as much as...
Well, one thing that you would really worth putting in there as well, Mark, if when you listen back to this, we've got Ian McCombs on the podcast as well, who's talk about all of the benefits that it brings to people. So certainly part of your discussions has got to be what benefits it brings to people's lives, and if you have a look at what they do and what it does for people, that has got to be a strong part of your case to basically say, this brings so much to people's lives. Some buts, but hopefully they'll get something sorted.
Did the holiday part not get anything from the World Bowls Tour, as in publicity? Or, I mean, I know every time I've seen it on YouTube, they had the tables up the side, but there wasn't many people there. Now, is that down to club members or...?
A bit of both, I'd say, yeah. I mean, it was disappointing. Obviously, I was in the tournaments on at least 2 or 3 of the occasions that he was there. And yeah, again, club members, it is a typical Crown Green area. It wasn't a lot to get in.
Right.
But if you're expecting people to sit there for, 5 and 6 hours at a time, to watch the bowls, they just maybe, I don't know, they'd probably rather watch it on the telly, sat there in the comfort of their own home. We all know what bowls are like. Sometimes the support isn't as, good as it should be, perhaps, for those events. Yeah. And also, was it publicised as well as it could have been? Probably not, right. If I'm being honest. It probably wasn't. And losing that tournament at Blackpool was probably another, the start of the downward turn, really. Yeah. That obviously happened relatively short notice, so it probably didn't paint bowls in a great light when they thought we had this tournament, and then next minute we've not got it, kind of thing. So
yeah,
probably didn't help all told. But yeah, it didn't take off as probably well as it should, given it could have looked like a really tight, intimate venue. If the timings had gone right and got the right people in at the right time, it could have created a really good atmosphere.
Yeah.
So from obviously quite a sad story, Mark, let's move on to, hope I'm right in saying this was probably the highlight of your career, World Championship singles. Being the unassuming and quiet guy that I know you are, what was that whole roller coaster like? Because I've no doubt you'll have had a lot of press attention and a lot that goes along with just turning up there, playing your balls and winning a World Championship. There's a lot that goes with that. How did you find the whole journey?
Weird, to be honest. It was, from 12 months previously, losing to Charlie Benz, a 72-year-old, in the first round. So driving 4.5 hours back. Fortunate I was in a car of my own, because I'm not sure it would have been great cup. So just 12 months later, having done, and it's just typical how sport works, don't feel like I did anything different in the 12 months. Played similar amounts, was playing a similar standard, off there, and just turned up, played the pairs first. Winning the pairs with Jamie really helped from a confidence point of view. To be fair, I'd kind of been carried for the first couple of games with Jamie, but then actually turned up and played well in the final, which that was the first anything like final on the WBT, so that was probably, a good thing. And then just kind of got into a really weird kind of calmness about me, full stop. I'm not a particularly, I do worry before games and stuff, but I'm not an overly, exuberant character by any stretch of the imagination. But I found a real calmness that I literally knew that I was going to play well, and if someone played better, then that's fair enough. You just hold my hands up, and say, and even before the final, I mean, it's the biggest game, certainly in my life as only an indoor player, that to think, beforehand, I was lucky in all fairness, because I spoke to Nicky. I'm good friends with Nicky Brett, so I spoke to him before, and he said, Mark, it's quite a long wait between you having your practice and going on, because you have like a show before and things like that. So he said, just whatever it is, whatever suits you, just take yourself away, from that. Don't get too, involved in it, which was a good bit of advice. So I just disappeared off, chatting to someone, and they're all like, you're not supposed to be getting the zone and all this. I said, you don't know me well enough, you think that's good. I can't take life seriously at all. So I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to find somewhere where I can chat to someone and disappear. And just before we walked on, all day, to be fair, it's worse when you watch. My mum, who was watching, was an absolute nervous wreck. She was sat in the stand, which was sat quite near where we walk on, so it was taking they all dragged on for ages. So I just wandered up the stand behind her and just come and she sat right, and I just went, excuse me, is this seat taken here? Well, I've never seen her face. I mean, it relaxed me, because she just looked at me and went, what are you doing? You're supposed to be concentrating, like kind of thing. I said, well, this is relaxing me. That was my way of just dealing with the fact that obviously I was a little bit nervous. So it's just, so it was fantastic. Felt that all over the kind of week, 2 weeks that I wouldn't often say this, but I was probably the best player over that period. And just, I mean, afterwards, it's just people talk, people ringing up for an interview, people wanting to the next day from the, local paper wanting to speak to you and stuff. And it was just even turning up. I mean, the biggest thing was turning up to pick my two boys up the day after, walked into the school gates, and a couple of people are looking at me, and I'm thinking, well, what are they looking at? And they're like, they come to me and, excuse me, were you on the telly yesterday? I said, yeah, you might have seen me. Did you win, like, kind of thing? Yeah. Oh, well done, it's brilliant news. And I expected a couple from the people in my kids' class who would have known about it, because the boys might have been talking about it. But these are people that I've probably never seen since, like, kind of thing. So for me, like you say, I'm pretty laid back, pretty unassuming. It was really strange, and even late. I mean, the biggest thing that I got from it, and I'll say this with the people, obviously winning it is the biggest thing, but the biggest thing I got from it was to go to the Sports Personality of the Year Award, which for someone like me who is absolutely mad on the sport and will watch any sport, I was like a kid in a sweet shop. It was just, like, when they said, I kind of like said, okay, do you get to go? And I spoke to Rich at WT. He's like, well, we don't always get an invite and this, that, and the other. I said, all right, okay, fair enough. And then when it come through, I was like, and literally, I thought someone had winding me up, to be honest, because it's just like that was it. So yeah, and even now, people talk to me and you're like, oh yeah, you won the Worlds, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did. It's just, I'm like, oh, must have been lucky that week. What went on? What went wrong?
You said about the Charlie game, and Charlie, taking nothing away from Charlie, he played well. He played well against. Was it Nicky he played the round after as well?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So he played well again, but it sort of typifies what you said when you said you didn't really do a lot different, and you went in with the sets is just so cutthroat. Oh. You could have played out your skin and still lost. It's just one of those setups which great for TV, but is not great for the perfectionist bowler who, you back yourself to win consistently over a long period of time. And we'll see it with you all of the time. When you get into a rhythm, you're just a machine, and it's like you're standing there and you think you're lying 4 or 5 and you're not going to get them, and that's I'm not bigging you up here. I've been there before and I've sworn at you loads of times and told you what I've thought about you on several occasions, and it's just when you get into that frame of mind, you can be unstoppable at times. And like you say, you potentially, I can't remember the game in question, but you potentially didn't do anything different to what you did to win it. But you just need to be in a good frame of mind, you need to be in good form, and you need that little bit of luck to go with it as well, without a shadow of a doubt in sets format. When you play a runner, you probably need to get an 80-85% result out of that runner, because if you don't, it's potentially winning or losing a set.
I probably said that week I won a couple of tight games that historically I would have lost. I may have I've stayed in games and probably rightfully lost them, but tight, and I've also lost a couple of games before where I probably should have won them. Just, like you say, one ball, one result on a runner, things like that. And just that couple of weeks, I had a couple of games that went to tie breaks that I probably deserved to win, but historically would have lost. But on that occasion, I managed to, get over the line. And even little things where, 1 or 2 balls in sets where you think you could easily lose the set, and that it means you're chasing. You end up winning it, and then if you win the first set, you obviously got a massive advantage because you know at worst you're getting a tie break. You kind of got 2 bites of the cherry at getting through things.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Rich is going to have to put a bleep on this one, because one thing that really irritates me with you is you let go of your ball and you look down as if you didn't like it. And it's like that. It irritates the life out of us. Because anybody else, when you let go of your ball and you're going, oh, no, that's rubbish. You're going like that. And you do that every ball. And yet, you never know whether it's going to be a back touch, a front touch, or a yard away. Really irritates us. So you're a great lad, Mark, but yeah, just don't do that anymore. Please look straight ahead when you let go of the ball, for God's sake.
You do know my sense of humour, Bolty. Every time I'm playing you, my head's going down even more.
It's got to be.
You do know my sense of humour, Mark. I'll just walk up the green and hoof your ball back into your head.
You've got to be a few choice words exchanged between the pair of us. Obviously, good stupid, but
it's great though. Man. I always thoroughly enjoy our matches against each other. We always have a battle, but it's nothing's taken too seriously, and we're both out there to win. But we've had some cracking conversations during the time as well, and
not very repeatable.
A couple of expletives here and there, but no, it's great stuff. So
there'll be more from Mark later in the show. And now we catch up with Just Ball's manager, Ian McComb.
And we have Ian McCombs on the podcast today. Ian, thanks very much for joining us. Much appreciated.
That's all right. Thank you for inviting me.
Not a problem at all. And Ian is the manager of the Just Ball, which is a fantastic concept. And Ian has worked with this for quite a while now. Ian was just basically love to find out what it's all about and, what it is that you do and where this journey started and where you are now.
Yeah, sure. So quite a lot of your listeners might be familiar with Just Bowl because it's actually been running since 2014. It ran for a couple of years. It was funded by Sport England and it was run as a community development project through Bowls Development Alliance. The idea was to work with a couple of groups, disability groups and also with care home residents. After the 2 years, unfortunately, it wasn't funded again. However, it got refunded 2 years ago. Sport England decided to refund it. And the aim of the work was to do some research. So we worked with our research partners, Sheffield Hallam University, to determine what impact Just Bowl had on physical activity levels and mental well-being on people with cancer and people residing in care homes. So that was 18 months ago. Part of the work we did some research with Sheffield Hallam University. The research came back and it showed that there was really positive impact on mental well-being in both groups and with an increase in physical activity levels and also balance and mobility with the residents from care homes.
Fantastic.
So Sport England were quite happy with the findings, so they've agreed to fund us for another 3 years.
Just the nitty-gritty question there, Ian, it would be, what do you think was the issue after the first 2 years? Because it's blatantly, it's a fantastic thing that is helping so many people. Do you think because it was in its infancy that they maybe wanted to just see a little bit more before looking to fund again?
Sport England tend to just fund projects for a couple of years. And what they like is for the project to become sustainable and to continue. Unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable for one reason or another. And unfortunately, they didn't refund it. They seem to have changed their stance somewhat recently, which is good for us because they have decided to refund it. However, with this new round of funding, we have to show that we can become sustainable, and we need to start bringing in some income as well as part of the funding agreement with that.
That's looking really positive though, Ian, isn't it? Because like I say, you've got some great batters now and you're working with some major organisations within the nursing home sector as well, aren't you?
Yeah, so we're working with Brighter Kind. We set up a partnership with Brighter Kind from the first work we did, so the first 18 months, and various cancer groups as well. We've also picked up some other partners along the way as well. So we've worked with Guinness Care, and we've done some separate work with them through their funding streams. We were able to access funding, and we were able to provide sets for a number of their facilities. We've also, in our new work, we've we've set up a couple of partnerships with an NHS in North Devon, so the services team there, and also one in Exeter as well. So I should say that I'm based in the Southwest, and so is my colleague. So a lot of the work, though we work nationally right across England, a lot of our work tends to be a little bit more focused around the Southwest. We are happy to work further afield, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it is because of COVID recently. We haven't been able to get out and about, so we've targeted organisations that are close that we can work with. So we've established a partnership with NHS in Exeter, and as well as that, we're also working with Sanctuary Care and a few other organisations as well. So with our new funding stream, we've also been asked to do some research with the Stroke Association and Headway, and also we're looking at what impact Just Bow has on dementia patients. So we've targeted 7 care homes to work with. And the other part of what Sport England wants to do now is to work with 200 care homes, so targeting 2,000 participants, and looking at the longevity of the programme to see that the project, that we can go in, deliver, and then that the homes want to buy the equipment. So just seeing that it does work in homes.
Fantastic. And obviously it becomes sustainably, and it's, you're down in that local area at the minute, but it's such a massive organisation, nursing homes, etc., that, it's not as if it's one every other day or something like that. Your time scale's packed. And the bonus for you is to become sustainable. Better case studies that we're seeing all of the time from the work that you're doing is just going to further enhance the possibility in the future for you to expand and obviously, have a bigger sort of foot further up the country as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So some of the case studies, if you go onto our website, www.justbow.org, there's several case studies on there. There's also a couple of videos that we've made as well that are really interesting. They were made by our partners. So one of them's by Brighter Kind, in a home where they had a huge competition that we attended up in Harrogate, and also there's one by Guinness Care. But there's also some case studies that we've produced with several homes across the country. So 2 in particular jump out, and that's one that we did with a home called Avery Mews, which is based up in Yorkshire, and the impact on the participants was amazing. It was the highlight of their week, and the lady who ran the project, the activities coordinator, was telling us that when they first started going up in bowling, they were walking up with their walking aid, and by the end of the 12 weeks they were putting their aids to one side and going up in bowling, going down, collecting their own bows. So that was really good. And she said that was the one that the balance and mobility really came out, how much of it improved. And their confidence as well, the residents' confidence. And the other one was so it was an individual case study that we did with a lady in a home in Hungerford, and sadly she passed away, but the quotes from her daughter were fantastic. That it gave her a new lease of life. She used to bowl previously, and it just brought her alive again. So that was really nice, without
a doubt. And that's got to be, it must be fantastic to sort of see the job satisfaction's the wrong word. It's the life of, seeing what you do change somebody's life. We always talk on this show about how we need to promote the sport better and we need to do this and do that. The fact that you're getting balls to the audience is a fantastic thing to start with, because it's it's putting the sport out there to people who've maybe never not tried it before. But the whole sort of quality of life that you're actually providing to people, and I've seen a couple of the discussions with workers within the nursing homes, and you sometimes look at these things from business and that, and you think to yourself, are they're just saying that to promote what you do, and they genuinely have been on there and just they've seen the massive change in people, and that's just got to be such a rewarding experience for yourselves. It's not it becomes not so much a job, but just it must be fantastic to see the difference you're making to people's lives as well.
Yeah, definitely. It is a very rewarding job. And the other thing that stands out is there's so many characters in the homes. So we'll go into a home to deliver the training to the staff, and a lot of the residents will sit around watching, and their comments are so funny about the staff, like, that's rubbish, I can do better than that. So the staff invite them to come up, come and have a go, and no, I'll try it later. But eventually they do get up and give it a go. The first thing they notice is the weight, because they're always expecting them to be like your traditional bows. So the first thing, they pick them up up the bowls and they know right away, oh, I can do this. So then they bowl down. You can just see the competitiveness as well. So between the different residents taking part, what we've done is, through our experience over the last 18 months, we've actually changed our equipment. We've adapted our equipment because we realised that when we were working in some of the dementia homes, we needed to change it slightly. So Kev, that I work with, designed a whole set of equipment, and a lot of it is based around dementia. So bright colours, the numbers, they're easy to see. So we've tried to adapt our equipment so anyone can use it, really. Yeah. So it benefits everyone.
One thing that stands out for me is, we've tried for years to get into schools, and you see that there's an interest there, and you see that the teachers would love to sort of get a hold of it, but you never feel as if you're actually going to get the buy-in from them. Whereas the nursing homes, the staff really, really seem as if they get behind what you're doing and give everything to it, because they obviously see the benefits as well.
Yeah. Interestingly, we've just during the lockdown, when the schools went back, we've actually gone to a couple of schools that we know and asked them to try it out to see how the students find it. And we're looking now to develop the product to see how we can adapt it more for schools. So whether that's included in the curriculum, or I actually come from an education background. I used to work in further education. So I've seen what a lot of other NGBs adapt their equipment to be able to use as part of the curriculum. So that's what we're looking at the moment, how we can adapt it. A while ago, we were at a show. We were demonstrating at a conference, and there was a guy next to us who worked in the Indian sports in selling equipment for several years. And he was saying how the product, how Just Bowl would go down really well in Germany, in the schools in particular. He said because they love that sort of thing, and the students embrace it. The teachers realise how it can be adapted and used within the curriculum to benefit the students. It's just a matter of time until hopefully they do realise that it can be a benefit and that it can be used in our educational system.
Fantastic. And it is the perfect setup, because bright colours, being able to set up, and I always refer to the crazy golf scenario. You can change things to make it as hard or as tricky or as easy as what it is. And kids, well, anybody, not just kids, but I think kids primarily will respond better when you've got targets and scores than just bowling a ball to a jack, which is great. And some kids take to it and still really enjoy it. But I think to actually get the attraction there straight away, you've got the perfect setup. And obviously, I use the equipment when we do the likes of our club helpers workshops and for the open days at the clubs that we work with. And if anybody hasn't seen it, we will be putting the links to the website on. We will be putting pictures of the equipment on. And they are available to purchase, aren't they? And you've got plenty of sets there that are available for clubs to buy. And for the cost of them, can't stress enough, the cost is nothing in relation to what it could actually bring to a club and bring to an open day, or bring to a day which is going to attract different people. Because if you gain 10 members off the back of that, it pays for itself. And, you've probably got them members for 10 years. So, I just think it's absolutely fantastic. I think the work you've done, I've got to give a mention to Kevin Else as well, because Kevin's your partner and, you're doing a fantastic job, and I know you're all systems go. But like I say, I think the work you're doing is phenomenal. And for the sport itself, I think anybody who listens to this and goes onto the website and looks what you do, I think if they haven't seen it before, it'll open their eyes completely. Richie, I know you were having a look at the Sheffield Hallam stuff, weren't you, over the weekend?
Yeah, I had a look at the report again, and it's very impressive. Do you find when you initially go in, is it difficult to actually get the staff to come on board completely, or do they embrace it straight away, or is it tiny steps?
It all depends on the home. So. Right. When the homes that we've gone into with activity coordinators, usually the activity coordinators are looking for something new.
Right.
So they'll embrace it right away. And because it's their job, then they're happy to learn from us and then do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
And we found our most successful homes have been the ones with activity coordinators in. However, there are others that, just general staff have used it as well. But I think because they've got that experience of delivering sessions, then they're a lot more comfortable using it. But that said, we've run sessions for cleaners, everyone. A lot of the homes, they've got to diversify. They do all sorts of jobs in the homes. And so what we try to do with the training is to simplify it as much as possible. The training that we deliver in homes takes about 2 hours, and we break it down for them. We show them the equipment initially. Kev delivers the training, then splits them into small groups, and he gets them to think up games. And then we move on to some of the other games. They get a chance to try the equipment out, and before long, they're quite comfortable using it, and it has worked well in most homes. We're always going to get those 1 or 2 homes that don't really embrace it, but we just accept that. That's always going to be the case.
Do you think smaller groups work better? Because obviously you have a big group, and I mean, I was quiet at school. I was always the one sitting at the back of the class and letting everybody get into it. I suppose care homes, people's confidences could be either high, could be either low. Smaller groups, people more likely to step forward and have a go at it?
I think that's probably the case. Yeah, what they do is usually deliver it in a lounge with a small group. But one of the great things about the set is that everything fits into a small bag. So what we're finding now with COVID is that a lot of the residents, where they're in their rooms, they're confined to their rooms, they can actually take it into the room and deliver it in the room. So you can deliver it in quite a small area. Right. Yeah, so some of the residents are using it there, or in a passageway as well. Probably better in a small group. Yeah. But that said, the competitive edge starts coming out.
I could just imagine.
When you're in a larger group, then no one's come to blows yet. But
the heckling from the sidelines.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Like I said, obviously I knew nothing about it. I've been in my role for just over a year now, and I've learned so much about it. And the biggest thing I take from all of it, there's the benefits it brings to people. It's a benefit it brings to the sport, but none of that would work if yourself and Kevin weren't fully behind it and showed the passion that you do. Because it's quite easy to just roll in somewhere and try and just drop something in and say crack on and get on with it. But you can tell that you've worked so hard to get it where it is now. And personally, I cannot see it going anywhere else but up. And I really, like I say, I completely wish you the best of luck, because I do think it's fantastic, and I highly recommend anybody listening definitely to go on and have a look at obviously the case studies, what you do, because we've all got parents, grandparents who are in nursing homes or might need something just to bring them out themselves. They might be going through a bad time, and it's absolutely fantastic, and I cannot speak highly enough about what you do. So Richie, is there anything else you wanted to cover?
There was one little thing in the report where they mentioned that possibly the intensity of it could be looked at. Maybe is it weighted ball, or would that be going into more a carpet ball area?
Yeah, that was with the cancer support groups. Yeah. What we found is, because a lot of the groups that we work with were quite active already. Yeah. We found that their levels of physical activity didn't improve as a consequence of it. But we have looked at other ways of increasing that. So the actual group that we worked with, from a social perspective, it made a huge difference. Yeah. And they still play to this day.
They look great.
In fact, they purchased the equipment immediately, and they so there are other benefits, but there are other ways you can change it as well.
So that's another great thing about it, Ian, is the fact that it's not just something that's been thrown together. There's a lot of research that you're doing as part of this for different illnesses, seeing the positive aspects, what you can change to make things better, and it's just so adaptable. Anyway, you could play it in your own house, in your passageway, or like you say, you can nursing homes, community centres, indoor bowling greens, outdoor bowling greens. It just brings a whole new aspect to what the sport is all about. When you look at what you do and the positive impact it has, then it just puts a whole new spin on the whole recruitment side of things. And like I say, I'm quite positive a lot of people will look into it and see exactly what we're talking about.
I've had it set up in my wife's office for about the last month and a half, much to her annoyance. But we were filming a video about Just Bowl during the lockdown so that we could still continue delivering it. Yeah, it was in her office for quite a while.
I've had the look of seeing that as well, Ian. So Steven Spielberg's going to have to watch out, I'll tell you, because I've seen it. It's cracking.
I'm not going to win any Oscars for my acting. One thing I should say that we have developed to go alongside the stat is game cards. So we've got a set of game cards that we've got an online shop which can be found on our website. We've got about 17 different games on there. And one of the great things, they've all got different levels. One of the great things about it is that you can actually start really easy and then progress. So from a coaching perspective, you could use the game cards to develop your game. So it starts at really easy games and then progression comes in. So it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I'll stick to the easy ones.
Classy. Ian, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. It's like I say, it's great. It's great talking about it. I love being part of it through the work. And like I say, I cannot wish you any more than success. And like we said, we'll make sure that all relevant links are on the website, and I will be getting some pictures of you of the equipment, etc. And we'll make sure that's promoted on there as well. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. And like I say, I'm sure a lot of people will really enjoy this conversation.
Thank you again for inviting me.
Not a problem at all.
Thanks, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, mate.
And now it's time for the final part in our chat with Mark Dawes.
Just one thing extra for me is a question with regards to the international setup. You're a fixed lead for so many years and phenomenal lead at that. You've now moved up 3 to Greg for the last few years. Were you happy to move up to 3?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm one of these people who actually I'll play anywhere, to be honest, wherever you tell me. And naturally would have been a lead and would have been happy to carry on doing that. Probably because I'd played a lot of back-end balls, even for the last kind of 5 or 6 years, really, when I was leading internationally. Probably wasn't quite as consistent. You know, anyone can draw to the jack. You know, anyone should be able to play in any position, really. So it's probably right. And equally, my game was probably developing a little bit more back end as well. So it's probably the right time for the team as well, where we, probably had a couple of, maybe skips that were just getting to the point where they were either thinking of retiring or were couple of threes who were maybe not playing. So it maybe was just opportunity rather than anything else. So, and also it's possibly slightly easier at international level to kind of bed in a younger player or younger players who are coming through at the front end of a ring, knowing full well that those players will move forward. And you've got your exceptions. You've got your likes of Jamie, Sam, Jamie Walker, but all of them will just come straight in back end because they're that good. But everybody else who you kind of just want to maybe just, they're good enough to play international bowls and they maybe played on the 25 series, but that's not quite the same. It is still a step up from that to the full international team. Yeah. So it was probably just a point where it made sense to just kind of, move me back there. Obviously couldn't find anybody else that could play it properly, so they would just shove me there. And then obviously it could give them options to bring people in. Having said that though, in the first year I played 3 to Greg, and then I was scheduled to go back to lead for Nicky the year after. But I think it was 4 or 5 years ago in Wales when the team got decimated and we ended up only having 23 players when I was travelling down, which is a little bit worrying.
Yeah, I was one of those. Leanne taken into hospital, so I actually missed that. Yeah. She ended up with some like scarlet fever or something. She was in hospital for 3 or 4 days, so I actually was one of them that missed it. But I remember I felt even worse making that phone call to Andy and explaining the situation, because he'd said that there'd been a few dropouts as well.
Yeah, it was a bit of a. It's a really weird, and it's classic people taking opportunities. You're going in and a couple of people stay from the British Isles, and those people are still in the team now. And, who probably, with all due respect, might have got in 2 or 3 years' time, but wouldn't have got in then, but took the chance and have obviously played well and kept the plays, going all the way through. And it's people, outside the setup are looking and thinking, he should be playing there. But indoors, we've had a stable team for the last, kind of few years, because unfortunately we keep winning it. I think it's 6 on the bounce now. Yeah. Hopefully next year will be 7, which would be a record, I'm led to believe. So yeah, it's kind of, we've got to that point now where when the changes are being made, they are fairly minor. But, it's not a massive fix because the team is, just evolving on a natural kind of basis.
And it was an interesting question, because I'm a firm believer, and I'm sure myself and Rich have talked about this before, but your best draw bowlers and those who have done a stint at lead or, predominantly played front end, for me, make the best back-end bowlers, and I would stick by that all of the time, because very well having that run and bowl to get yourself out of trouble, but it's the nitty-gritty where you've got to go down there and do what was your bread and butter at a time of drawn to that bear, Jack. And that is a scary place to be if you're not a good draw bowler, and you'll know that. And it becomes sort of for all you say that you maybe weren't as good, I think at international level, you probably, just picking numbers out the air, you would be looking at 85% consistency as an international lead. 85% of the game you're getting there or thereabouts within 18 inches, 2 foot. When you move back end and you're not playing constantly drawn to a jack all the time, I would say you probably drop down to about 75% success rate, but you're still in the high marks with regards to walking away and drawing the shot if you need to.
Yeah, and I think it was probably, the double-edged sword, really. I mean, obviously, I would say that the time when I was leading, my runner was probably the weakest part of my game, but actually, and I think I learned this a lot on the tour, really, because you have to go quicker on the tour, the nature of the carpet and things, but that's got so much better. Because of that gave me more, obviously, confidence on the draw then. So, and it kind of meant that I had to work on my weakness, or perceived weakness, in my own mind as much as anything, perceived weakness, to then mean that, yeah, all right, I know full well that if I was going to be under pressure, and I'd revert back to the draw, and I still will do now. If it's a choice of 2 shots, I would go for the draw as opposed to somebody else would possibly run it. It's just a way different people play. Yeah. But the fact that I had improved, my runner, meant that therefore I wasn't worried about playing back end, because I knew that if I needed to, and I was asked to, I can play the shot, but yet, like you say, going back to the bread and butter of under real pressure when, there's no other shot than the draw, I was fairly confident that I'd had enough years of, drawing to a bed, yeah.
Definitely. Richie, over to you. I know you've got a couple of pauses for Mark.
Just going back to your Crown Green days, Mark. Did you ever play in the Waterloo?
Yeah. No, to be honest, Richie, Crown Green I've been playing Crown Green since I was 6, 7, right. Playing in leagues, against men who obviously took it really well if I used to beat them when I was that age. But never really got to the point. I played a little bit of junior county stuff on the Crown, but never really took it seriously. When I started playing flat when I was 16, and then that kind of took over, really. Maybe I was probably better at it. So did it. And I still play Crown now, right. In the summer, just past the time, and mainly because the banter is fantastic on the Crown. It's a different mindset to the flat greeners, and probably my sense of humour can come out a little bit more. Like David says, I'm quite a quiet character, until people who get to know me, and then they know that I'm rather sarcastic and rather don't take myself or anybody else too seriously. Local level, you're quite often having a go at each other and your own teammates as much as anything. I mean, it's some of the stuff that gets said, it's probably too far the other way, but I love it because it just kind of makes me, I can just relax, I can turn up, I can go enjoy my summer bowls, and then by the time it comes back to the indoor, I'm then ready, and it's more serious, if you want to put it that way.
So do you not play flat door at all now?
No, I probably stopped. I think I saw something on Facebook the other day, about 8 years ago, I think it was. Played internationally for about 4 or 5 years. It wasn't as good outdoors as I was indoors. And just the whole playing 12 months of the year, kids were a bit younger then, it's quite difficult. And now I have like joint custody with them, so playing I have them every other weekend. Right. So actually, in Lancashire particularly, it's a lot of weekend stuff. Yeah. Even the pairs, singles, triples, and all that. Quite often the fixed dates on weekends. So to play competitively, you'd have to play a lot of weekends. I don't want to play when I've got the kids. That's my time with the boys. So therefore, I wouldn't be playing as much. And I got to the point where I was getting frustrated because I wasn't playing as well as I wanted, as I thought I could and wanted to. So I just thought I knocked it on the head. And to be honest, it was the best decision I made. Yeah. I mean, I've got 2 outdoor clubs, one 10 minutes away and one 15 minutes away. I really don't miss it. And I don't think a little bit is the standard of the greens and a little bit of standard of the weather sometimes around Manchester, not known for its wonderful, sunny days. I think a lot of it was 12 months of the year. Yeah. I don't think it was particularly outdoor bowls. Yeah. It was just one of them had to give. And at the time, I was probably I preferred indoor a little bit, and I felt I was better at it. So that's why I decided to carry on with that. Yeah,
it can get to the feeling where it's like a second job, really, isn't it? It's 12 months of the year, and you just need to recharge your batteries. Going back to that one, is there going to be an occasion where we see a triple of doors, and doors?
No, I don't think so. Not from what I mean. It's really strange. When people ask me, I've been kind of, with regards to the boys, I mean, they showed very little interest,
Right.
particularly my eldest. He's 11 now. He goes to high school in September. He's not really shown any interest at all. Occasionally, they might know I'm playing, but no more than that. The youngest, I've got more chance with. He's a bit sporty. He likes his football, so I think he might at some point take him down. But I think maybe I've always, if they show an interest, then of course I will take them. But I've almost seen bowls as my thing. And even like previously when I was married, it was kind of like I'd walk in the door and it'd be, "Are you in a good mood?" If it was a yes, I'd won. If it was a no, I'd lost. That was the end of conversation. We didn't go, and it kind of was great that I could leave the balls there. And, to be honest, it's the same now with the kids. It's just literally, yes, obviously they just about knew I won the world, but other than that, they don't want to know. They just want dad. They just want dad to, go in the backyard and little one to belt a football at me as hard as he can and give me bruises all over the place.
That's what it's all about, Mark. At the end of the day, you seem to have that balance really, really well. We all sort of sometimes get a little bit dragged, is the wrong word, but get a bit hooked into the whole indoor, outdoor competition. But this has been a massive eye-opener for me, and I'm pretty sure for Richie as well. This COVID situation, it's been really, really nice. I wish it hadn't happened, don't get us wrong. Wouldn't complain one little bit if I was out playing county bowls and national bowls now. But it's certainly opened my eyes to the fact that there is life outside of bowls, and it's been nice they're not rushing from work and rush straight back out. And, it's been great, and I literally have no interest to go and play roll-up bowls till the end of the season before the indoor potentially starts, hopefully. And I know Richie's talked about it as well. It's just been really, really nice to do different things. Like I say, that's obvious from your own point of view, and it's probably benefited your indoor game as well, having that break, and you're coming back fully charged for the indoor season.
Without question. Yeah, I definitely think that's the case, because I'm coming back in September, and you get on that cycle, like you say, you get on a cycle where, you get the indoor season's always quite heavy. You play, internationals, nationals, in March, and then it's like kind of, right, okay, that's kind of finished. You just about, right, try and finish your stuff in, beginning of April for any club comps or anything like that. And then bang, when does the outdoor start? And you kind of never get that break. And it's the same with the outdoor finishes, and historically when you're a junior, you end up playing some indoor before you then go back out to the junior international series in the middle of September. And there's no cut-off. So now when I come into play and it gets to the point of kind of August, I'm actually looking forward to playing, as opposed to thinking, and vice versa. At the end of March, I'm kind of thinking, right, this is the big time of the year. Yes, you start and you played a lot of bowls potentially, a little bit of mental fatigue, but hang on a minute, I've only got to get to the end of March and that's it. I've got 5-6 months off where I can just take things easy. And then by the time it comes around September, you're ready. You really want to go, and it's not. I mean, it's not for everybody. Some people, want to play, all year round, and I totally understand that. And if circumstances were slightly different for myself, and I possibly would. But yeah, if you can try and find a way, even if it's just a month. And I've spoken to a lot of people, whilst obviously in the lockdown, a lot of bowlers who do play, 12 months, and they've said that they were surprised that they've not missed it, or not missed it as much. But I think it's just that break. I think they would. I think if it got to, doing it all the time, they would. But it's just trying to find, and I think maybe that's somewhere where if we had, associations who were obviously closer linked, and actually one association could get a better calendar, we could almost get that right. We've got to give 3 weeks, 4 weeks, not have to be a massive amount of time at either end of the seasons, rather than trying to get everything. And I know it's difficult because everyone's got their own interest, what they want to get played and stuff, but just to give people a little bit of time to, you are rushing around from work, everyone's got families and other things that they want to do, and don't drive members away by thinking they've got to choose one or the other. Give them a little bit of a break and think, right, I can still do both, because I know in and around that period I've got times to go on holidays. How many bowlers don't go on holiday because they can't get in the bowl season? So.
Totally agree, Mark. Totally agree. Well, Mark, obviously, we've had some amazing guests, and obviously yourself, Nikki, Alex, Paul, etc. Jamie's been on the show, and we can bang on about what you've done in the sport. I mean, you've got national titles coming out, you're world champion. We could talk about all of these things, but it's actually nice to be able to talk to people and find out personalities and find out about you as a person, not just about the things that you've won. It's been fantastic to actually just talk to you about family life and find out, people probably don't know that you're abusive on the green and things like that. But like I say, moving on from that, we're now on to the highlight of the show, and Richie's going to put some fantastic music and fireworks and everything on this one, because balls are balls. It's becoming an enigma, and I've made this one particularly special for you because this is a Lancashire episode of Balls or Balls. So you are going to get 5 questions: balls for true, balls for false, and they're all about Lancashire. Are we ready to go?
Yeah.
Question 1. Preston was the first city in the UK to open a KFC.
Balls.
Lancashire is the only county to have its name linked to 3 different types of cheese, which are blue, goat and cream.
Balls.
Lancashire Day is on the 23rd of October.
Balls.
Queen Street Mill in Lancashire was featured in the Oscar-winning film The King's Speech.
Balls.
The infamous Blackpool Illuminations is 6.2 metres long. Miles long even.
Definitely not 6.2.
Wouldn't be a very good illumination if it was over in 4 steps.
The world's worst illumination.
6.2 miles long.
Balls.
Fantastic. Right, so I do know you said balls for the first one. Preston was the first city in the UK to have a KFC, so that was correct. You said balls for the second one, which was Lancashire is the only county to have its name linked to 3 different types of cheese, which are blue, goats and cream. And it was actually balls because they're actually creamy, crumbly and tasty.
Yeah.
Green cheeses.
No more crumbly Lancashire.
You certainly had no idea about Lancashire Day, which is on the 23rd of October, even though you got it right by saying balls, because it's actually on the 27th of November. Fantastic guess there, Mark. Queen Street Mill in Lancashire was featured in the Oscar-winning film The King's Speech. You said balls for that, and it is actually balls. And the infamous Blackpool Illumination is 6.2 miles and not metres long. You said balls for that, and that was also balls. You got 5 out of 5. And obviously that was purely down to your complete knowledge of Lancashire, because you seem so confident with every answer.
my eldest on the quizzes we've been doing together has said that you're really good at guessing true or false, aren't you, Dad? Knowledge.
No wonder you won the World Championship. It looked like that. Mark, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on. It's great. Like I say, hopefully people will, it's nice. We get a lot of comments where people talk about how it's nice to hear what players are actually like rather than talking about everything that they do in the game. So it's been really good. Great to have you on, Mark. And all I can say is obviously we wish you the best of luck and Lancashire Balls. You've got a fantastic club with a lot of fantastic players, too many to mention. Like I say, we just hope that you get something sorted in the near future.
No, I really appreciate it. I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting away, and like you say, it's nice to just everyone knows about the actual serious side of bowls, but it's good to try and portray that people do have a laugh when they're in and around the circuit, and do get on, and there are little bits of times where you can have enjoyment on the bowling green as well. It's not always all serious.
Absolutely, and just remember, stick your head down again when we're playing against each other, and I'll smash your head in. No, great stuff, Mark. And Richie, I don't know if there's anything you want to add finally.
No, I just wish you the best of luck in the indoor scene, mate. I hope you can find a solution to it.
Obviously, for your career in balls as well, Mark, it continues to go from strength to strength, and I've got no doubt it will. You never know, we might see those 2 boys on the green sometime in the future, but we'll wait and see.
Fingers crossed.
Cheers, mate.
Great stuff, mate.
All right, cheers.
Thanks again, Mark. You take care, mate.
All right, see you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Ta-ra. And it's competition time. As always, thanks very much to Alex Marshall Sports. And the question for this week, Mark will love me for this one, but question is, who did Mark lose to in the first round of the Indoor World Championships prior to his World Championship winning year the following year? Send us the answers either by email on wrong.bias@hotmail.com, by messages either on Twitter or Facebook, or you can just drop us a comment on the Facebook page.
Right, mate, another one bites the dust, another cracking show. Enjoyed the interview with Mark Dawes and Ian McComb. Yeah, 2 great interviews, both with some interesting chat. Like I say, really, really enjoyable talking with Ian, and it is great. I love to see what benefits Just Bowl does bring. And Mark, I've known for so many years. He's such a great guy, lovely, lovely guy, and great. Like I say, people may not see or hear the
personality that comes across with Mark, because he's a very quiet, unassuming guy, and
just like yourself, mate.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't say boo to a ghost, do I? So keep myself to myself, mate.
That's right. Well, it's been a pleasure, mate, as always. And
absolutely, big one for the next one, number 20.
Number
Did
20.
We ever think we'd get there? Huh?
Fingers crossed, we're not in lockdown.
I'll send you a hair clip in the post if we are.
I need ribbons, mate. I'll be in bunches. Never mind. Right. Okay, dogs, mate. What are you doing?
You too. Take care.
Thank you for listening and hope you've enjoyed the show.
This has been a Dodgy production.